much, Professor Popovsky, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we move on. Russia has criticized the United States for what it calls an unjustified military buildup in the Caribbean. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov made the remarks on Wednesday. According to a Russian news agency, Ryabkov has said that the increased U.S. military presence is raising tensions in the region. His comments come as Washington intensifies its campaign in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, targeting what it describes as illegal drug trafficking operations. According to reports, the U.S. campaign has targeted at least 14 vessels and resulted in 61 deaths so far. Over the recent months, the United States has significantly expanded its military deployment across the Caribbean. It is a move that Moscow says is unnecessary and provocative. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Professor Veselin Popovsky. Thank you, Professor, for staying with us. Now, looking at this news, to what extent can Washington justify its actions rather than it being geopolitical competition, and could rising U.S.-Russia tensions in the Caribbean signal a return to Cold War-style power dynamics in Western Hemisphere?
Well, just in words and in talking, Russia is trying to somehow pretend to be a big power. But if we compare the military power of the United States and Russia, it's absolutely ridiculous, that Russia can have any, even attempt to have any balance on that point. And it's really very funny when the Russians are talking about Caribbean and some build-up of United States there, and forgetting that their real-life aggression in Ukraine is taking place, killing civilians almost every week, if not every day. So this is just a talk to distract the attention from the serious conflict in Ukraine. And I wouldn't take seriously any news from Moscow, by the way. I'm kind of, every time you ask me to comment on something that the Russian officials say, I'm smiling, and on one hand, I don't like to talk about those because they are lies and manipulations all the time. On the other hand, it's really funny and amusing to talk about those statements. But seriously, yes, Russia has absolutely no equal power anymore. It's not the Cold War time where Soviet Union could be comparable to the United States at the time. Russia cannot take a single city of Pokrovsk for 12 months in Ukraine. So that's the size of the Russian military power. They advanced for 3.5 years and not yet gained some significant part of Donetsk region. How Russia can be comparable to United States? Absolutely impossible. And it's very funny when they also say we are going to test some new weapons as a response to Donald Trump support for Ukraine, and Donald Trump effectively also ridicules that himself and say, yeah, you can test anything, we can test anything, let's compare what we can test. Yes, Russians are just talking, those are empty talks. There is no danger whatsoever, by the way, in the Caribbean of that build-up. It is simply a message to Venezuelan President Maduro that he must go, and I'm sure he will go. The next to go is President Maduro. My expectation is by the end of the year, Venezuela will have a new leadership. Thank you.
With that, I would like to thank Professor Popovsky for joining us and staying with us, also sharing your perspective throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. The death toll from Typhoon Kalmegi in the Philippines has risen past 90 people following severe flooding. In Cebu province, 35 bodies were discovered from one flooded town, taking the provincial total to 76 people. The National Civil Defense Office has confirmed at least 17 more deaths in other provinces. Floodwaters swept through towns and cities, carrying cars, trucks, and shipping containers. Civil defense officials say the major cities were hit hardest, and authorities are now facing the challenge of clearing debris, blocking roads. Residents have described the floods as unprecedented, with water raging early in the morning and destroying homes and shops. Nearly 400,000 people had been moved from the typhoon's path before landfall, as extreme rainfall devastated Cebu City and surrounding areas. Scientists warned that storms are becoming more powerful due to climate change, with warmer oceans and moist air leading to heavier rainfall and stronger typhoons. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX.